So good morning, everybody. This is the first day of the training of Lebanon under the TCP project RAB 3802. I'm quickly going to share my screen to get you through the training program of today, but also the coming days. So the agreement with the laboratories, I hope you can see my screen. The agreement with the laboratory was to receive a training 3 times per week, starting from today, the 1st of March. And the training will last 3 to 4 hours per day from 10 a.m. Beirut time. So today, the training session is going to focus on chemicals management. So from the reception date, opening date of the chemicals and other aspects of their management. And it's going to be an online lecture. Thereafter, you will start talking about the standard operating procedures for the analysis of soil chemical and physical soil parameters. Again, this will be an online lecture with the eventual practical exercises. So as you can see in this table, you have the training topic, the training modality. So when it's a practical exercise, please have a look at the annex to this document that you all received by email, because there will be some materials that you have to prepare for the practical sessions.
Yeah, and some material we don't have it in the lab.
Okay, then Dr. Dafalla will tell you how to deal with this. Here you have a reference to the training day, so the topic that fall under the same training day, and the date of the training. Then just for your reference, you received another document like this one with the links to each training day so that you can join them on Zoom. And here, eventually, there is a note on the material available under NASOLAN, so that NASOLAN produced in terms of SOPs, so hard copies of the documents, in terms of training videos, in terms of webinars, so also in terms of other trainings that NASOLAN organized that are either in English or in Arabic in your case. As you can see, this is how we divided, the training topic were agreed with the laboratory before we prepared this training program, but also after its drafting. Also, we agree on the days. So here you have the full overview. And as I told you before, here as an annex, you have the material needed for the practical part of the training sessions. So this refers especially to the implementation of the standard operating procedures. And maybe Dr. Dafalla can tell you a bit more about this, especially maybe today for tomorrow, no? So depending on the training topic of the coming days. So the training is Dr. Mohammed Dafalla from Sudan. And now I give him the floor to continue with and get really into the training. As I mentioned, the training is recording for reference of the laboratory, but also like for future records. So Dr. Dafalla, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lucrezia, for a very nice presentation and introduction of this project. It is my pleasure to be with you, colleague from Lebanon, to conduct this training. I think it is the first time that we conducted the online training for soil laboratories. I know there will be some obstacles, but of course, together we can manage it in a good way. I think the basic idea behind this training is to improve the soil laboratories in Near East region, basically for sustainable soil management. Indeed, the training will be conducted in 2 parts, like normal ways, that there will be some instructions for how to do the analysis, and the practical part will be conducted by yourself there in the laboratories. In addition, I think also this training aim to make some harmonization between laboratories. Of course, most of you, they are conducted these methods. And even I think we have to deal with this like that we are colleagues together. Both of us have a very huge experience, but we just want to make it in a harmonized way so that regarding the methodologies for soil analysis, most of you know the principles, know the ways, but indeed there are some gaps, especially related to the health and safety, waste management, and these issues. This training modules was designed based on assessment of the laboratories, and which was noticed during the, or reported during the assessment, that there is a need for capacity and also for infrastructures for issues related to the health and safety, in addition to quality assurance and quality control. Really, I'm happy to be with you. I hope that we together manage this challenge of online training for soil laboratories. I told yesterday, Lucrezia, that somehow I have a lot of worries because I'm a teacher. So when you come to learn or to teach others, you have some of your worries and some of your somehow that you like to give the audience and the attendee most of your knowledge, and you want to give them all the best that you can. So indeed, because it is the first training session in the region, so please feel free to recommend anything that can improve this experience, because based on this we will going to do another online training for other colleagues from other countries in the Near East. So it will help us very much to improve the quality of training. If you have any input, so feel free, and then the training, as Lucrezia mentioned, will be covered basically the categories of this, including the quality insurance and quality control. And this today we are going to deal with two topics related to this issue: chemical management and standard operation procedures. And these two issues, basically, they are item belong to the quality insurance. Then after, for around 7 days, we are going to conduct or to training on standard operation procedures, which is soil methodology. Then after, we come again to the quality control and quality assurance with more details and with more elaboration on these two issues. Then after, at the end, we will going to cover the issue related to health and safety. So basically, we can divide the training issues in three categories: quality control and quality assurance, health and safety, and standard operating procedures. Today, we will start with first lectures. I will share the screen with you that related to the chemical management. So for chemical management, as I mentioned before, chemical management is basically related to the issue of health and safety, and also to some extent combined with quality control and quality assurance, which is basically needed for the laboratories in the Near East, most of us conducted the normal soil analysis in a very good way, as far as I know, and from the assessment. So what we mean by chemicals, of course, most of you deal with the chemicals daily. So all physical substance in the world, they are made up of chemicals. And chemicals can be natural, that in the nature without any interference from man. And the other one is man-made chemicals, and this always they are inside in factories, and they have a very several uses. So in natural chemicals, we found it in land, in terms of minerals, and as a component of soil itself, and rocks, and even this substance in water. All of these, they are natural chemicals. And in our laboratories, in soil laboratories, we deal a lot with natural chemicals found in the soil, found in the food, and even air and water. And most of the, especially in the NINA region, when we come to the soil laboratories, we deal with this, with water, soil, and plant. So there are a lot of natural chemicals there. Man-made chemicals, they are, as I said, they are synthesized chemicals in the factories and they can be household cleaners, industrial chemicals, and also this we deal with this especially in the laboratories, because we use it in analysis. Always in when you make analysis, you need reagent to carry out your analysis. Both man-made and natural chemicals have a hazards, and they must be handled in a very proper way so that they cannot make a harmful effect on people. Chemicals in laboratories, as I mentioned, they are very important, and also they are most consumable material in laboratories. In laboratories, we use a lot of laboratories to conduct analysis related to the plant, animal, and soils. And therefore, the type and amount of used chemicals, they are very varied in each laboratory based on the function and objective of the laboratory. For instance, these laboratories of soil, they need or require a special type of chemicals, while those in biological laboratories, they need other types. And of course, all of them, they are very consumable in large quantities. Internationally, there is frequent reporting of accident and incident related to the use and storage of chemicals. Really, when I come to this point, I remember the accident in Beirut ports. I think it's during 2020, there is a big explosive of ammonium nitrate. So this is the most recent one and very related to your country. So the accident and incidents, there are many and happening in laboratories, and even are caused by chemical during the use and storage. So here there is a need to know the route of entry of chemicals, and in some place, some word interchangeable, that how do chemicals enter the body. And there is a very famous 5 mode of entering of chemicals to the body. The most common one is inhalation. and this is breathing of contaminated air. And this is very common, especially in the laboratories, that favor from any process, chemical process, can lead to favor. This favor can be contaminated air, so it can be through inhalation. Will these chemicals can enter the body, and mostly with inhalation, that the most common hazard is or problems that cause lung disease and so on. The second one is ingestion, swallowing, and this is I think it is not so common, but it can be happen, and this is happen by swallowing of contaminated material in the workplace, and normally it is accidental and occur if hands are not contaminated. So this part actually can be avoided by adopting the proper handling of chemicals. The second most common one is the contact, and actually with contact with eyes or skin, and this is one is very most common one, and it happened when someone come in contact with chemicals, and normally eye and skin, and it is very common especially in the laboratories that someone or some labor come in contact with chemicals and can be harm his eyes or his eyes or skin. Absorption, and this is when the chemical enters the body through the pores of the skin, and of course when the chemicals come to the skin and can travel to the other organs in the body and make disastrous problems, especially for livers and kidneys. Personally, I have problem with this absorption. Whenever I was in a laboratory, I face that the problem that I have allergy with chemicals favor in the lab, so it is very normal. So maybe this is the best way to avoid this, to wear the coats, and so to prevent that direct absorption of chemicals to your body. The last one is not normal in the laboratories. This is injection, and this is normally is common in the health care setting. So this is the basic routes of entry for chemicals: inhalation, injection, contact, absorption, and injections. So here the factors which can influence the degree of harm caused by chemical. Of course, most of the chemicals they have to handle in a very proper way, but still the factors that affect their harmful effect can be related to the amount of chemicals. So if you take a few drops of chemical, it come in contact, it's different to be a large amount of chemicals that come to be in your body through the previous mentioned 5 mode of entry. The toxicity of the chemicals. There are some chemicals that graded very toxic, some they are moderate, while others will low level of toxicity. So the level of toxicity of the chemicals determine how much the chemicals will cause a harmful effect on the human being. Also, how frequently someone is in contact with the chemicals, and this is especially for people who are conducted always the analysis. They are very frequent they are in very frequent contact with chemicals, and the length of time a person is exposed. Also, this one is very important, the time of exposure, and especially for people who work in the laboratory, they somehow in a risk of having problem because they stay a long time. Yeah, as far as I know, in petroleum sectors, for instance, they have a very limited time that everyone can stay for a certain time, then they must have a leave. Sometimes 1 month in the work, 1 month in the house, so that you can minimize the effect. And also the length of time is exposed, the type of chemicals itself. When we come to the radioactive material, so the time of exposure is a serious issue. And finally, how the chemical enters the body. So the fast road in compared to that one take long time. For example, if you inhalation, it will be very fast to come to the bloodstream, because the chemical itself will come to direct contact with the blood in a very fast way. Swallowing as well also. So now we come to the basic issue of this lecture, what we mean by chemical management. So chemical management is a systematic approach to procuring, storing, using, and disposing of chemical within a facility. It deals with, or it looks for, proper handling and storing of this hazardous material, and also to ensure a safe rule for handling and storing chemicals in the laboratory. And all these issues should
لما
be...
بطلوا عم يصدروا على سوريا مضروب سوق ما قدروا يصدروا على سوريا بده يخلصوا من نص دولار اللي عم ببيعوا.
I think, Ralph, you are mute your microphone.
Ralph, yes.
If you want some discussion about the previous one, we can stop here for a while if there is a need for any. Or we continue. So with chemical management, actually we deal with a systematic approach to procuring, storing, using, and disposing of chemical within a facilities. يعني إدارة المواد الكيميائية، الهدف الأساسي بتاعتها هو نظام أو منهجية منتظمة لعمليات الشراء والتخزين والتخلص من المواد الكيميائية within the facility. The proper handling and storing of this hazardous material was a safe rule for handling and storing chemicals in the laboratory. All of this should be somehow governed by regulations that local or state or federal one. And I think the Lebanon, at the end of this presentation, I found that there is a decree or there is laws and regulation by Lebanon, so we can discuss in detail on it. With the chemical hazard, actually there are three basic hazards. Physical one, and by physical we mean that the hazard will be, they say, will be some physical harmful effect. So injury, fire, explosion, cuts, so on, burn. And the other, the second one is the health. And with health, we, of course, the chemical can cause diseases, can cause also malfunctioning of malfunctioning of physiology and that human physiology, and lead to disease and even to death. When the poison level is very high, it can lead to death of persons. Environmental one, an environmental effect, we deal with the pollution of the environment and the harmful effect on the environment itself. Especially when we come to the biodiversity, for instance, when there is chemicals handled to the soil in improper way, of course, this will lead to death or disappear of certain organisms, and this, of course, will minimize or reduce the biodiversity of the soil. Pollution in general, whatever pollution in air, in water, in soil or land, all these chemical hazards from improper using of chemicals. When we come to the management or managing of chemicals, there are basic principles for managing chemicals. First, this is start with identification of the chemical hazard. Is this chemical safe or not? What the degree of, is it okay or not? The second one is to assess the risk of exposure, to that chemicals. And finally, you have to end up with how to control the risk posed by the hazardous chemical. So the three activities done when you are managing the chemicals. You have to identify the chemical hazard, you have to assess the risk, and finally control of the risk posed. Here, how we identify the chemical hazard, and this can be done by chemical inventory for the laboratory. You have to do an inventory work to identify the chemicals, and we come to these issues in detail. Also, you have to consult safety data sheet of the chemicals, so to know which is hazard, which is not, or the level of hazard by the end. The exposure, at what frequency a chemical is used. Normally, there's some chemicals that are used heavily, so this one is the exposure level will be very high, while others using a very often way, so the exposure here is not so high. And also how is it used. And finally, with the control of risk, is there a safety program in the laboratory? And also the awareness of the user of the chemical. Is he aware that there is a chemical hazard? Here, actually, I remember very well that a very dangerous practice here in Sudan in gold mining, and this especially in the traditional one. Here, they are not. They use mercury for extraction of the gold. They don't think that it is dangerous. They behave in a very I can say improper way. They are not aware. They are not take care of this. And even when there is some training for them that there is problem, one of them refused to recognize that it is a dangerous problem. And even he said that no problem, even he swallowed it. So here, of course, he cannot get a direct poison effect, but the accumulative effect of this practice is very dangerous for his health. So the awareness of the people about the chemical and its hazard is very important to be to be accommodated in the process of controlling of the risk. Here there is the symbols for the chemical hazard. In the first one, environmental hazard, and here they take the symbol of a tree and land. This skill with 2 bonds, it is very famous one for Ariot and others. It is acute toxic, it is a killer, and also the gas under pressure, and the symbol for corrosive, explosive, flammable, moderate hazard, oxidizing, health hazard. All these symbols normally they are provided within the package of the chemical. Whenever you get chemicals, you should have this chemical hazard symbol in your, so that you can identify the hazard of the chemicals. It always there is an issue related how to differentiate between hazard and a risk. So a hazard is something that can cause harm. يعني أي شيء ممكن يسبب ضرر أو أذى. يعني for example electricity, chemicals, working up, leather, noise, keyboard, all these things somehow can make or can cause a harm. But a risk is a chance, high or low, that any hazard will actually cause somebody harm. يعني الهازارد هو أي شيء ممكن يسبب ضرر، وطبعا دي يمكن يكون مفهومة، يعني كل الأشياء يمكن تسبب ضرر، حتى الأشياء الجيدة ممكن تسبب ضرر. لكن الريسك اللي هي الريسك هي الفرصة لأنه هذا الشيء يسبب ضرر، يعني chance high or low. يعني مثلا الكهرباء كلنا بنتعامل معاها، هي ممكن تسبب ضرر، لكن بالتأكيد ما بالضرورة لو كانت التوصيلات جيدة، لو كانت الأشياء مرتبة من ناحية هندسية بشكل جيد، ما بالضرورة إنه يحصل ضرر. لكن لو كان مثلا الأسلاك بها بعض التعرية أو كده، ممكن دي يكون هنا في احتمالية حدوث ضرر، اللي هي هنا الريسك. فالهازارد هو something can cause harm. الريسك هو الchance إنه that things can cause a harmful effect. فده من المهم جدا التمييز بين الهازارد والريسك، وحقيقة يمكن بيحصل خلط بين الهازارد والريسك. يعني الهازارد احنا مثلا انت تسايق العربيه، اذا حسيت انه الشارع فيه زحمه انت بتعمل الهازارد في العربيه، انت يومين ذات للاخرين تنبههم انه في زحمه او في ممكن تؤدي لحدوث حوادث. لكن الريسك انها تحدث حادث يمكن نتيجه لو انك متحرك بسرعه كبيره او العربيه بتاعتك مثلا او السياره بتاعتك فيها مشكله بتاعت بريك او غير، يعني دي هنا بتزداد شنو الاحتماليه. I brought here a table showing that a hazard type of الهازارد، وممكن السورس اوف الهازارد يكون شنو الافكت. مثلا اذا عندنا for example for think tin lid and the effect can be a cut. Substance, cleaning and maintenance supply, normally they are there in every house, and it can cause poisoning. Material, pathogenic bacteria can cause disease, and Source of energy, electricity can cause a shock. Condition, for example, a wet floor can make or lead to slips or falls. The process, for example, the assembly of PVC pipes can cause a fume hazard. The practice, continuous working at night shift, of course, will lead to sleep disturbance. The behavior, late sleeping, continuous complaining, all this will lead to stress. As you see from this table, normally the source of hazard, if inert or if it is not activated, it can cause no harmful effect. But if the improper handling of this issue, of course, can lead to effect. Cleaning and maintenance supplies, all of us, we have it in our home. And if it is completely or fully tied and closed and without reach of children, it will be very useful in the house and make it very nice and pretty. But if there is improper handling and leave it unattended or unclosed, so maybe the children or even the old people can get some poisoning if they get in contact. Or so the hazard should be determined, because some substance and some things from the beginning they have a hazard, but the proper handling of this material and things and will minimize the possibility of having a problem with it. Or what we mean by possibilities, it is a risk. Now we come to the chemical inventory. As we said, to identify the hazard, you have to make a chemical inventory. Normally in laboratories, maybe annually or biannually, everyone need to make a chemical inventory to take stock of all chemicals on site the lab or facility in general. And it is very important to remove what is no longer required, not to keep all things without use or food. And because this is itself the accumulation of our storing of a lot of things, of course, will make a problem and will increase the risk of having problems. Accurate inventory will help in many areas of your health and safety and environmental program. So at least you can know what you have in your facility or laboratory, so that you can manage your chemicals in proper way. And one of the management that you have to dispose of obsolete chemicals to minimize the type and quantity of chemicals in storage. And of course, some chemicals have an expiry date and their chemical state change over time to become reactive or explosive. And normally with these organic chemicals, organic source chemicals, the expiry date of them is very short. So the shelf time is very limited. So no need to keep chemicals that are obsolete in your laboratory. It will be a source of hazard for and even risk for your safety and health and environment program. Chemicals that are not used in the last area should be disposed. Also, you have to ensure a personal protection equipment, inventory, and other control much of hazard of your chemical inventory. And also the chemical inventory is needed to check if the emergency plan are up to date. If there is an incident, do you have an awareness of what exactly is on site and where it is stored؟ يعني الكيس انه حدثت حالة بتاع الطوارئ وحدثت حوادث، فيجب انك تعرف المسببات بتاعت الحوادث موجودة وكانت مخزنة وين. فدي كلها بتساعد في الكيميكال انفنتوري او الحصر للكيميائيات. فالحصر الكيميائيات هو واحدة من الوسائل بتاعت المانجمنت اللي بيساعد بشكل كبير جدا في انك تقلل من مخاطر المواد الكيميائية الموجودة في المعمل بتاعك او في المؤسسة in general يعني. The benefit from a chemical inventory, it will give you an opportunity to be aware of all physical and health and environmental hazard on site. Yani you can identify what is hazard in your site because you list all the chemical and I identify which is hazard associated by each one. Also, you ensure that safety data sheet match the product inventory. Normally, you have to list the chemicals and identify the it is safety based on the data safety data sheet. Also, this will give you an opportunity to eliminate or substitute chemicals. If you require additional monitoring or exposure tracking of chemicals of concern, do you need additional communication plan, code of practice, exposure? All this help you to by chemical inventory to decide upon these questions. And also this will give you a good opportunity to eliminate or substitute certain chemicals. Also, it will give you an opportunity to evaluate if storage of your chemical is compatible, secure, and probably labeled. And especially with the labeling, it is very important practice to label the chemicals so you can know it. And based on this label, you will going to store your chemicals in a very compatible, secure, and proper way. Also, it will provide an opportunity to check if training education need to be updated for the hazard on hand. And also by chemical inventory, you will come to procuring process, so you know what you need to purchase, what is the most frequent one that used during the last year, so you can increase the quantity, or to, in contrast, which one is not used in the last year, so there is no need to purchase this chemical for this year. An important issue that related to the chemical management is that transport. So you have to transport the chemical in a very safe way. Never move feasibly chemical on container. Not normally use cargo or car or cart that is closed, not visible. Also, you have to place bottles in appropriate leak-proof secondary container to protect against breakage and spillage. Bottles should be placed in a appropriate way. Normally, in the process of cargo, they indicated very clearly how the site what should be up and what should be down, and even the weight of the containers. You cannot put them uncarefully, so that maybe cause some break in the bottles, and so will be some leakage and others. Also, in case of leak-proof secondary containers, don't put the container alone. You can add a secondary container, so that if there's something happen in the basic container, there will be a second one that to protect or prevent the leakage of material. Special plastic توت، يعني زي الشيء اللي بيتعمل في المطارات ده. مثلا انت بتيجي بتقفل الشنطه، مثلا الشنطه اوريدي دي الشنطه الاساسيه، هي دي زي الكونتينر، بعد ذاك بتلفها بالتوت او بالفاول، بيبقى شنو، بتبقى حمايه شنو ثانويه يعني. also الكارز ولا الكارت مفترض تكون عندها enough wheels. Use a good cart with a large enough wheels. This is to prevent cars from a disturbance by the streets. Normally, sometimes the street itself is not good. There is some holes there and there. So when you use a car with a small wheel, so it will make a lot of vibration in the container itself. Also, for safety and for safety of the others, it is not recommended to transport the chemicals during busy times. Normally in each state or city, there is sometimes that is a lot of traffic jam. So during that time, it is not recommended to transport this chemical, because if case there's some problems, it will be the risk for the others will be very high. Use freight elevator when you come to the building itself. Use freight elevator for moving hazard material whenever possible, to avoid potential incident on crowded passenger elevators. Use يعني المصاعد المفترض تكون مصاعد مصممة جيدة، وبرضه تكون مختلفة من اللي بيستخدموها الناس العاديين، على أساس ما يكون في مشكلة. Also, you have to remove the gloves when pushing elevator button or opening doors. So this to ensure that you are not going to harm other person using of these elevators. Of course, never leave chemical unattended. Always the chemical must be under conscious concern and consideration of the authorized person. Now we come to the other part for chemical storage. Do you have any question, comment? Or we continue?
We can continue, I guess.
No, I think is good and clear.
Okay, thank you. I hope not boring, because I know that when we get a lot of time to listen for the same one, maybe you got boring or something.
No, it's okay. No.
Okay. So rules for chemical storage. Safe storing of chemical in laboratory require careful consideration. This we try to mention the basic one. First of all, you have to label all chemical containers fully, including the owners or username, along with the date received. عملية التسمية مهمة جدا. ممكن حتى اسم المستخدم واسم صاحب المادة الكيميائية ومع تاريخ الاستلام. You have also to provide a specific storage space for each chemical and ensure return after each use. Each chemical, it has to be put in a very specific storage space. Store of volatile, toxic, and other virus chemical in ventilated cabinets. الستور للمواد المتطائرة السامة في كابينتس، ودي حاجة مهمة علشان تمنع إنها ما تطلع تعمل contamination للإير، وبالتالي بتبقى مصدر بتاع خطر كبير. Of course, this can be managed by checking of environmental health and safety personnel for specific guidance. ودي طبعا المسألة بتاعت الهيلث اند سيفتي بيرسونيل او الاشخاص المسؤولين عن الهيلث اند سيفتي ده المفترض يكونوا عندهم تدريب عالي وعندهم ويل اوير في المواد الكيميائية، وحتى مفترض يكون عندهم يعني كونتاكت مع الريجوليشنز ومع المواصفات الموجودة مع الدولة عشان يحددوا انه المادة دي نفسها طبيعة التعامل معها كيف. Flammable liquids also should be stored in a approved flammable liquid storage cabinet. Of course, in case of a smaller amount, may be stored in open room. And still, you have to check a local authority for allowable limits. This is more or less here. You define, as I said from the beginning, that all this management practice, chemical management practice, related to regulations and laws at the state or federal or locality. At each locality, there is basic standard for storing or the permissible limit for chemicals in the workspace or in the environment in general. There should be a separation of chemicals, liquid, according to compatible groups. And I think the next slide will give an example for a table that showing how you can separate between the chemicals, because if you put incompatible groups of chemicals together, there will be a high risk of having reaction between this material, and it can be cause problems for the laboratory or the facility in general. Follow all precautions regarding storage of incompatible materials. Post a chemical compatibility chart for reference, both in lab and next to chemical storage room. This is a very important one. You cannot put all chemical together without any concern of its compatibility, because the reaction between these chemicals is expected. Also, the use of appropriate resistant secondary container for corrosive material. This is very important. استخدام الأوعية الثانوية، يعني بيكون في وعاء رئيسي وبيكون في وعاء ثاني شنو ثانوي. يمكن دي تكون في المعامل بتاعتنا دوما بيكون مثلا البوتلز بتاعت السلفوريك اسيد النيتريك اسيد بتكون غازاز، وبعد ذاك بتكون مغطاه بكونتينر بتاع فيلين. فالكونتينر بتاع الفيلين ده هو ده السكندري كونتينر، والكونتينر بتاع الجلاس ده بيبقى الاساسي. وهنا بتمنع انه لو حدث حاجه ما على طول الماده تطلع مثلا من الكونتينر الاساسي الى المحيط حولها. This of course protect the cabinet and will catch any leaks or spills due to breakage. And this will be a very good way to handle chemical during storage. Here, there is column A, column B, and this the material or chemical in column A should not be put in together with chemicals from column B. For example, this is a very clear one: acid and bases. You cannot put acid and bases together. This, of course, will lead to the reaction, which is the very familiar one. With acid and bases, you will get salts and water. So it will make a very big change. So acid in one place and base on the other one. Alkali and alkali earth metals, carbide, hydride, hydroxide, oxide, peroxides should not put with water, acid, halogenated organic compound, chromate, dichromate, halogens, halogenating agents, hydrogen peroxide, and so on. The source of this table is the National Research Council, 1981, prudent practice for handling hazardous chemicals in laboratories. Inorganic nitrate with acids, metals, and silver. Inorganic sulfide with acids. Organic compound with oxidizing agent. Organic halogen compound with aluminum metals. Organic nitro compounds with strong bases. Powders metals with acids. So you know, all these chemicals in table A, somehow they have a reaction pathway with chemicals in column B. So to keep this compound or chemicals, it should be separated to ensure that there will be no reaction between two compounds. And of course, it will not only the loss of the chemical itself. Some of these chemicals, when they are react together, they have a very disastrous effect. Some of them, they will lead to explosion, while others will cause evaporation or will produce a vapor that is toxic. So you have to take care of this issue. When you come to the compound, how to store them, they don't put them together without any consideration. You have to consider the nature of each chemical and is it compatible with others or not. So to divide your store for chemicals into different or various apartments. So each one has its unique chemical compound that is not compatible with others. Still, you have to seal the container tightly to prevent the escape of vapor. In case also of using of refrigerator or storing chemicals, there should be a label in this refrigerator that indicates that this refrigerator is used for chemical storage only, no food. And this is very, very common practice normally in the laboratories, that they use refrigerators sometimes for others uses rather than only for sampling or for. Sometimes they put some food, but it is very dangerous practice for the health of worker and employee in the laboratory. Of course, flammable liquids, it should not be kept in refrigerator unless it is specifically designed and approved for such storage. Because the flammable somehow they can itself, the refrigerator itself, it have some flammable liquid, so the hazard will be very high if you put a flammable liquid in a refrigerator. Use only explosion-proof, spark-free refrigerator for storing flammable. يعني انواع معينه من الثلاجات اللي هي تكون يعني عديمه الشعله او ما فيها شعله لتخزين المواد اللي عندها قابليه للالتهاب. Avoid the following: storing of large heavy container or liquid on high shelf or in high cabinet. Instead, store these at shoulder level or below. يعني الاشياء الكونتينر الثقيله، الحياه الثقيله ما مفترض تتخطى في الجزء العلوي من شنو، من الدواليب ولا في او الدواليب والرفوف تحت المخزن. بالعكس المفترض تتخطى في مستوى يكون موازي للشولدر ولا اقل منه. Storing of bottles on the floor also, it's not a wise way of handling of chemicals, because هنا الريسك بتكون very high إن يحصل لها برضو تكسر، أو يعني ممكن أنت حركت حاجة البوتل هي أنت ما منتبه أنا aware بالبوتلز، ممكن يحصل لها تكسر، بالتالي ممكن يحصل ليكج للماتيريال ولا للكيميكالز في الفلور بتاعك. Unless they are in some type of secondary containment. لكن in general it is better انك تكيب الاشياء، تكيب المحله بتاعت العمل والسطح بتاع البنشيز، والسطح حتى السطح بتاع الغرفه او الغرف تكون ما فيها شنو، ما تكون فوق مواد كيميائيه مخطوطه. Of course, النقطة storing of chemical near heat source or in direct sunlight is you have to avoid it, because you know that the temperature, increasing of temperature can activate certain chemical reactions, and even it can change the physical nature of chemicals, so that maybe can be explosive as well. So it is a very wise way to keep chemicals away from source of heat or direct sunlight. Storing chemical in fume hood. Excessive container interfere with the airflow and hood performance. Also, avoiding to store chemicals in fume hoods. ودي يمكن تكون براكتس يعني بحسب تجربتنا كثيره، يعني الناس بيخلوا المواد الكيميائيه في الفيوم هودز. ليه؟ لانه احتمال يكون بيتعاملوا معاها، خاصه المواد اللي انت بتتعامل معاها بشكل كثير في الفيوم هود، مثلا في النيتروجين، في الاورجانيك، في الاورجانيك كاربون ديترمينيشن والنيتروجين. انت في مواد اصلا بتتعامل مع السلفوريك اسيد والدايكرومات تكون خدتها في الفيوم هود، لكن هنا انت دي زي بتقفل الفيوم هود نفسه. السبيس الموجود ده هو مفترض يكون للغازات اللي بتطلع من العمليات، فانت هنا شلت سبيس فيزيائي مليته بكونتينرز وغيره، فبالتالي انت هنا زي شنو ما بتدي مساحه او الحجم الكافي بتاع الفيوم هود بتاعك اللي هو ما يحتويه من غازات متصاعده من العمليات. فهنا انت زي بتعرض ممكن بصوره غير مباشره بتعرض نفسك برضه لمخاطر، بتخلي انه الغازات ممكن بدل ما تطلع او تكون محبوسه في الفيوم هود، معناها ممكن تطلع الى المعمل. بالتالي only chemical in actual use should be in the foods. يعني ما كل المواد اللي انت يعني المواد اللي انت داير تستخدمها في اللحظه المعينه هي تكون شنو؟ تكون موجوده في الفيوم هودز، لكن ما كل المواد. Storing anything on top of
شو اللي صار؟ What happened?
شكلها الكونكشن عند دكتور ضفالة راحت لأنه عمل فريز قبل وبطل مبين أونلاين.
Okay. Okay, let's wait for him to reconnect. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello again. I'm sorry for that.
No problem, no problem. It happens.
It seems that
Welcome back.
Electricity problem.
so where we stop or where you miss me? So I think we are here, yeah.
Yes, I guess. 22. I guess we did this slide.
Okay.
Or
So also we have to avoid that storing chemical indefinitely, because humidity cause powder to cake or harden, liquid chemical evaporate. All containers must be dated when they are arrive in the lab. So you have to somehow to identify the shelf and life span of each chemical, so that because humidity and also the evaporation of liquid chemicals. Of course, you have to take care of manufacture expiration dates and very strictly, and you have to pay special attention to reactive or dangerous compounds that when they are expired, it will some chemicals will be subjected to some changes that it will make it very dangerous. Disposal of all outdated, hardened, evaporated, or degraded material promptly. Here again, we have to highlight very briefly that non-flammable gases, dangerous reactive when wet, oxidizers, all these symbols, they identify or they are indicated a certain characteristic of chemicals. Compressed gases, dissolved gases, or liquefied by compression or refrigeration, and they have to be kept in a ventilated, cool, dry area away from heat and ignition sources. Avoid elevation of cylinder temperature and store secured in upright position. And of course, to avoid damaging valves, separate full and empty containers. So all these materials, they are very familiar in the laboratory. You have to take care of these flammable, non-flammable gases, dangerously reactive when wet. Others, they are very oxidizers, can be oxidized very easily. Flammable, combustible, liquid, and solid can be ignited at normal temperature or can cause a fire through friction or retained heat. So they have to keep in a certain places in cool dry area. All this information should be provided by safety data sheets. The basis, toxins, and this is the slide especially was produced by Chemiscape. Now we come to the issue that related to the ordering and receiving. How we do this? So the order of new chemicals is conducted through the lab manager. The lab manager is responsible of provide an order for having a new or purchase certain chemicals, because he's knowing well the situation in the lab, so he can know that what is needed at a certain point or certain time. Material safety data sheet should be requested, because as you noticed from the previous slide that there is a lot of information related to the type and characteristic of each chemicals, and this information should be provided by material safety data sheets. At the arrival or at receiving of the chemicals, a bucket should be opened to know how is it okay in a very good way. If there is a visible damage in the bucket, it should be not accepted to enter the lab, should be send it back to the suppliers. Each chemical should be tagged with unique container number and enter into chemical database. And this is the process of labeling. So whenever you have a new chemicals in your laboratory, you should put some label on it to identify the name of the chemical and receiving date and other necessary information. And even you can put some labels, of course, in the type, indicating the level of hazard of each container. Storage, by the end, you have to store this chemical in designated storage area, as we previously highlighted. It should be stored in the suitable place, not with a compatible place, and not put in and carefully in a place that is not compatible for the chemicals. This issue is also related with the chemical management disposal. So the chemical itself should be disposed after certain points, maybe because it is expired or it is unneeded. As we said, obsolete chemicals should be disposed. But for disposal of chemical waste, there are two types. There is non-hazardous. Another type is hazardous one. So disposal of non-hazardous chemical waste is somehow is less difficult compared to the hazardous chemical one. For non-hazardous water-soluble waste and not contain solid, maybe flush to the sewer with ample quantity of water. أنا هنا بتذكر حقيقة كلام فلاريا من سالتها كان في أثناء الأسسمنت. بالنسبة لي إنه ها أنتوا الويست بتعملوا ليش؟ بتقول لي إحنا هنحطه في السينك. يعني هنا لو طوالي في الحوض بتاع الحوض بتاع المعمل. يعني هنا لو كانت المواد اللي بتضاف في الحوض بتاعت المعمل ما كانت مواد فيها خطورة وكانت مواد سائلة، ممكن تكون الحاجة دي يعني كبراكتس ممكن تكون مقبولة، بس برضو لازم يحصل لها شنو، يحصل لها يعني تكون في كمية بتاعت موية كثيرة على أساس إنه يحصل عملية بتاعت dilution. in case liquids that are not water soluble, some liquids they are not water soluble, those type must be solidified, يعني absorbed and disposed as solid non-hazardous waste and be labeled non-hazardous and can be put in the laboratory trash. دي ممكن توضح طوالي برضو في شنو طوالي في السلة بتاعت القمامة بتاعت المعمل. هنا في الحالتين هنا ما كان في مواد خطرة في الناتج، سواء كانت ذائبة مائيا أو أو غير ذائبة مائيا. لكن لو كان في مواد ما بتذوب في الماء يجب إنها يحصل لها عملية بتاعت بيحصل لها عملية بتاعت تصليب، أو إنها تبقى شنو تاخد الشكل بتاع الشكل الصلب، وبعد ذاك ممكن توضح في التراش. يعني دي واحدة من تخليه واحدة من المشاكل الكبيرة في المعامل. يعني بحسب التقييم اللي احنا عملناه لكذا دولة، إنه ما في اهتمام بالجزء بتاعت إدارة النفايات بشكل عام.
Again, internet perturbation.
No, I'm here. I think that recording or something.
Okay.
But anyway, we are in about the end of the as I said, the chemicals, the waste from the soil laboratories mostly should be handled as a chemical waste. يعني مثلا التربة انت من تيجي تتعامل معها بتضيف لها مواد غيره وغيره، بقت ما تربة، يعني بقت في التحليل اثناء التحليل. الورق بتاع الترشيح اثناء ما انت بتتعامل معاه ما بيبقى ورق، لانه انت بتكون اضفت مواد كيميائيه للعمليات اللي بتجريها في التحاليل، فبالتالي بقى الناتج النهائي سواء كان اوراق بتاع الترشيح او او تربه او حتى المحلول اللي انت بتتعامل معاه في النهايه هو بقى فيه اضافات كيميائيه كثيره. ف it is better انه to handle المواد اللي بتطلع من المعامل as انها هي chemical waste. فبالتالي انت بترجع اذا اضفت مثلا اذا اضفت للتربه ماده، بقت الماده اللي انت اضفتها هي الخطوره بتجي منها. الهازاردس waste collection and lab accumulation. all hazardous chemical waste must be collected for disposal by approved methods. يعني لازم يكون في طرق معتمدة لجمعها. ما عارف القوانين في لبنان كيف، لكن ممكن دخلت open discussion الناس مجموعة القوانين الابروف ميثود ممكن الناس يتناقشوا فيها. في some practice they are not proper. For example, dilution and evaporation are not a solution for problem. Yeah, don't try to dilute the concentration of certain compound in a waste so that you can think that it is the proper way to handle hazardous chemicals. Hazard waste should be collected in screw top containers that are compatible with the waste and must be kept in closed place. كل المواد الخطرة مفترض تكون مخطوطة في كونتينر مقفلة ومصمطة، ويجب انه برضو to be label of the container with red and white اللي hazardous waste. دي طبعا يمكن لانه انا اخذت المحاضرات دي من معامل امريكيه، احتمال يكون هناك المؤشر red and white as انه ده indicator لhazardous waste. لكن ممكن نجي نشوف في لبنان هل في ليبل معين او هل في طريقه ابروفد معينه. الليبل contain الwaste name, chemical names والwaste component. All chemical must be identified no abbreviation. يعني إذا كانت خليط مفترض كل الخليط المكون مفترض يتحدد an hazard whatever it is flammable, oxidizer, etc. Here also they need to make a consideration of mixing of chemicals. You cannot, even if it is wet, you cannot mix chemical together without any consultation of managers or the authorized persons. Empty containers. I think it is a big problem in the Near East, and also especially in my country, Sudan. I think there is a problem with empty containers. How to dispose them, especially when these empty containers for chemicals with huge quantities. For example, pesticides, المبيدات بتتجاب بكميات كبيرة جدا بتجاب في containers. بعد ذاك الكونتينرز دي how to handle it. في مثلا مقترحات انه يكون في سنتريشن او محارق كبيره، لكن مثلا ممكن تكون مكلفه. الامتي كونتينرز في المعامل must be handled in a proper way. if في اللابراتوري ممكن تكون في جزء كبير جدا منها ما عنده مشكلة، لكن في وحدات معينة الامتي ايثر كانز والاكيوتلي هازارد ويست كونتينر والايروسولز البخاخات الحاجات الموجودة في شكل بتاع البخاخات. الامتي كونتينرز possibly انه يحصل عمليه بتاعت رينسين في الووتر before disposal. يعني لو تم غمرها او غسلها بالمويه مرات ممكن تكون واحده من الحلول، لكن مفترض دي برضه تكون بالرجوع الى الداتا سيفتي داتا شيت، وانه الخصائص بتاعت كله مركب. في disposal of lab equipment, it is very important also. There is normally this will be done after approval of manager that decided this equipment should be disposed. Therefore, must a qualified person come and remove any hazardous materials. For instance, batteries, a radioactive source. For example, radioactive GC few radioactive materials. زمان دكتور طلالة بتتذكر النيترون بروب برضو فوق radioactive materials. فدي كلها مواد انت لو الجهاز ده خلاص قدرت تتخلص منه بالضرورة، او خلاص مفترض في جزئيات منه مفترض يحصل لها شنو، يحصل لها هاندلين as hazardous material، وبعد ذاك يحصل ال proper way of handling or disposal of these materials.
Yes.
This part really I want your contribution because I found that there are two regulation in Lebanon related with health and occupational health and safety, and in this decree number 1182 in 2004 provides standard health and safety measurements for any workplace, and especially I think the chapter 3 concerned by management of chemicals. Also, law number 444 of 2002 on protection of environment also permit to be obtained for the import and storage of dangerous material or chemical for which term should be issued under decree. These two laws in Lebanon could be considered as a baseline for the regulation in the Lebanon. Even this is a law, and as I mentioned, there are some articles. I think article 21, I think. In addition to chapter 3 is completely devoted to handling of chemicals. Yeah, 21 is related to the ionized radiation shall obtain license from Ministry of Labor. Chapter 3, basically, as I recognize, maybe there are some articles, but chapter 3 is safe use of chemical at work. And to some extent, these articles will provide a baseline for proper handling of chemicals in Lebanon. In this part, I need your input from this. Is it enough regulation? And if it is enough regulation, is it actually implemented? To what extent? Who is responsible of monitoring and implementing the regulations? So we need to go back. So I come to the end of this part. And here there are some reference on which I base or prepare this presentation, and you can get there more information. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Dr. Dafallah.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor.
Maybe we have, if the floor is yours now. Any comment, any input, any?
If I can comment on general, comment regarding the storage of hazardous materials in Lebanon. We wish to have better regulation and implementation of regulations, given the damage caused by the explosion of Beirut port, where flammable materials were stored without precaution, beside acid and beside firework material, You can imagine. Ammonium nitrate was stored beside firework material, and these are explosive materials. Now, if we come to the laboratory, I know when I used to work at Larry, this was a long time ago, that there were special rooms to store dangerous chemicals, acids, you know, and everything was labeled and well organized. Even at Fanar station, the same. The current situation can be commented by Valerie and I think by Marie.
Valerie.
Yes, yes, some products are labeled and stored in special places, but most of our products are expired. And with the economical situation now, we cannot afford to buy a new one. So we're using the one we have. That's the case in Fanar.
And what about Tel Al Amara?
Maybe Marie can answer this if she is still if she still has a connection.
Marie?
Yes, I think that the case of Beirut port is a very good example of improper management of chemicals. Ammonium nitrate cannot be stored in that way, so that when it comes to explosive and make a very disaster problem in Beirut. I think there's many people there get harmed from that. Yeah.
Yes.
As far as I remember, it is around 6,000 or. Yeah.
Marie has a problem in her connection.
But I think the most important issue that there is in Lebanon, there is regulations. These laws to decree and the law, both of them, they can provide the baseline for proper handling of chemicals. But normally the problem come with effective implementation of rules and regulation. So if it is fully implemented, it will be very good base line, so that the people or the managers in laboratories can rely on these laws and decree to proper handling of the chemicals. But always the issue of implementation is the challenge in the region. In addition, I want to some outline from your side about is there any authority or institutions that are responsible of handling of waste, chemical waste in laboratories? Because as far as I remember from the assessment that there is no regulation, no specific ways for handling of the waste. So if you collect it in a proper way, who will go to take it and who will go to handle it? This is a very important.
Some company takes the empty bottles of acids, and we don't know what they do with it. Marie said that the chemicals in Tal Amara, most of it are expired, but they don't have cupboards and for the acid, and they are stored separately than the chemicals product. She sent me a WhatsApp because she doesn't have a good connection for the Zoom to answer.
Also, Abdel Haj also mentions that in
Liba station also.
There's the same situation in Fanar. But in case if you use expert chemical, how far the accuracy of analysis will be maintained?
No, it's not that bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Because even with the chemical management, I add a slide, but at the end I delete it. I think that with the chemical management, even we are improve the accuracy of soil analysis, because you can ensure
standards, comparing with the standards and the blank we are using, the results are not bad. But we don't know. Maybe with the PT we will have different different answer.
Yes. Normally with the standard with chemical management, you ensure that your chemicals are not expired, they are fresh, and also it have some economical point of view that we're not going to buy a lot of chemicals and without any effective use of these chemicals. Oh, yeah. Abir mentions that waste management is a big issue in the whole country. Yeah. I agree. If there is no comment or if there is a comment, please. We can move now to Maria is back. Yeah. So can we move to the next lecture or take 5 minutes? You can take 5 minutes. Hello again.
We can take a break. Why other people don't reply?
Okay. Okay.
Why
We can
they
take
don't interact with you properly?
you can take 5 minutes.
Okay.
Do you want a
Thank
break?
you.
Ladies,
Yeah, we can
gentlemen.
take. Yeah, of course we can take a break.
5 minutes. 5
Okay,
minutes.
Yes.
okay.
Okay. See you in
5
5.
minutes break.
See
Thank
you.
you.
Lucrezia, you can stop recording. Lucrezia. Lucrezia. We will take a break for 5 minutes. You can stop recording. السلام عليكم.
أهلا وعليكم السلام.
عليكم السلام يا دكتور.
أهلا بك.
So we come back the second part of today's training.
Let them sign in. Let them sign in the chat.
Okay.
By putting a plus or something like that. Are you there, colleagues? So nobody is signing in, huh?
they are actually they are 7. عبيد الحاج، عبير، فرح، فلاري. We can give them some to
2-3 minutes. Let's see.
Yes.
I'm back.
You are back. Welcome, Falari.
Thank you.
So we will start.
Okay.
So the second part is standard operating procedures, and normally the abbreviation is SOPs. Standard operating procedures. So the definition of a standard operating procedure is a set of detailed work instructions that describe each step of a process. Standard operating procedures refer to a set of written instructions of protocol or worksheet that document a routine or repetitive activity followed by an institution. يعني الستاندرد اوبريتنج بروسيجرز هي مجموعه من الاوامر للاعمال التفصيليه والتي تصف كل خطوه في البروسيس. وعاده الستاندرد يعني بنمشي في التعريف اكثر في البرزنتيشن، هي ما بالضروره تكون ستاندرد اوبريتنج لمعمل بس، يعني هي اي نشاط هو عنده طريقة معينة بيتم أو طريقة تنفيذ أو تشغيل قياسية لها. فدي بتكون مهمة جدا، وزي ما قلت في أول المحاضرة السابقة الأشياء دي كلها مرتبطة برضو بالكواليتي كنترول وكواليتي أشورنس. يعني أنت لو عندك ستاندرد اوبريتنج بروسيجر بالتالي أنت ممكن you can handle or manage الكواليتي اشورنس. لو ما عندك طريقه بتشتغل بها ما بتقدر تحدد الى اي مدى انك انت واقع في مستوى من درجه الكواليتي كنترول أو المحافظة على الجودة النوعية وممارسات ممارسات الجودة، متابعة الجودة. فالستاندرد اوبريتنج بروسيجرز هي واحدة من الكومبوننت المهمة في العملية بتاعت الكواليتي اشورنس والكواليتي كنترول. لانك لو عندك طريقه قياسيه معناها انت يو كان فولو اب المصادر بتاعت الخطا، او الى حد اول بتحدد الى اي مدى انت واقع في مستوى بتاع الجوده مناسب او غير مناسب. بعد ذاك لو في خلل بتقدر تعمل تريس باك للمصادر بتاعت الخلل او مصادر بتاعت الخطا او المصادر بتاعت الابتعاد عن القياسيه. يعني مثلا من المحاضرة اللي فاتت مثلا في اللاري قالت إنه المواد بتاعتهم أغلبها نتيجة للظروف الاقتصادية هي قديمة، بالتالي ممكن تكون اكسبير. بالتالي لو ظهرت قراءات خطأ، لأنه في الستاندرد اوبريتنج بروسيجر مفترض نحدد الرياجنت ذاته مفترض تكون اناليتيكال، مفترض تكون ما اكسبير. فلو في بروفيشنسي تيست ظهرت نتائج مختلفة من المعمل بتاع فنار مع معمل تاني مثلا في السويد مثلا، ممكن يكون واحدة من مصادر الاختلاف أو التباين في النتيجة دي سبب المواد المستخدمة. طيب زي ما الSOPs offer step by step instruction on how to perform a laboratory analysis. This is somehow SOP related to soil laboratories. ودي مأخوذة من الجلوسولان definition of SOPs. فالSOPs provide step-by-step instructions on how to perform a laboratory analysis. As I mentioned, SOPs are critical component in ensuring the replication of measurement and the credibility and traceability of data. SOPs is very important, as I said, for the process of replication. And actually we mean by replication that to provide the way for testing of accuracy and precision. And this is more or less related to quality assurance and quality control. And also to provide the creditable and traceable data. SOP is the first things to look in or to look at in case of error in measurement of variable result in internal and external quality control exercise. It will provide the SOP. When we come into detail, it will provide all the steps for the measurement, in addition to the reagent, laboratories, standard, the quality assurance, health, and all these should be stated very clearly in the standard operating procedure. So it will provide, in such case, it will provide a very good baseline or benchmark to be identified, to identify the errors in measurement or variable. A SOPs as a written authenticated standard operation, it will give a compulsory introduction instruction list. It will give a compulsory instruction list that to execute a process or activity in a correct and the same manner. And correct, of course, is very clear. When you want to make something in a good way, you have to follow instructions. You have to be a very careful in conducting the analysis in a correct manner. Also, in the same manner, it will give you an opportunity to compare your results or your analysis with others laboratories. So, and this is, I think this is what Dr. Talal in the other components of the project will try to do, that to have or to manage data of different countries in the region. So if they follow the same manner, they follow the same SOP, then very easy for them to say that, for instance, the soil in Sudan has a similarities or differences with the soil of Lebanon, because they have to compare the same result with the same procedure. For instance, EC. So you can say that the soil, Sudanese soil, is more saline or less saline in comparison with soils of Lebanon. But this cannot be done probably unless Lebanon and Sudan use the same methodology, use the same standard operating procedure. And I think this is one of the objective of this project, to bring the whole countries to harmonize the methodologies adopted. For instance, as far as I get from Syria, Lebanon, and also Yemen and Oman, all of them, they follow ICARDA. They follow ICARDA manually. So here, to some extent, you can compare the results. So this is the same manner. It is the key function of SOP when we come to the comparability of results from different laboratories. And this comparability not only within the region, also inside the country. If Fanara and Tal Al-Amara follow the same results, so it is easy to compare the result. And if we can make internal proficiency test to see how much the result are correct in the both, so they can exchange or share the same samples and analysis in the two laboratories and compare the result to find out how far the accuracy of analysis in the two laboratories. So SOP standard operating procedures provide compulsory instruction lists that can be followed by the same laboratories, and at the end, the results of the two laboratories can be compared easily and can be either for interpretation or for comparison or whatever, but it will be expected to be homogeneous and harmonized. As I said, standard operating procedures is a standard form for any process that to take place, whatever. It have basically 3 types: step-by-step procedures. In the step-by-step procedure SOP, it will be sequential steps 1, 2, 3, for example. On each step, there are very detailed instructions, and I think most of the soil laboratory standard operating procedures belong to this type, this step-by-step. Take, for example, certain weight of the soil, add certain chemicals, go to shaking. So it is sequential, not overlapping. The second type is hierarchical type, and in which this normally it is related to the big companies. They put policies, and from policies you add or you created some procedures, and all of them, they are documented. And the third type is the flow chart. Normally with flow chart, you have maybe in step 1, you have some conditions. If condition 1 is okay, go to the step 2. If condition 2 is not fulfilled, jump to step 3. With the flow chart is not the flow chart is not normally in the soil. But as I said, the step by step is the normal one or the most used one. Hierarchical steps for a big institutions and flow chart. As you know, with flow chart, you have always a conditional sometimes when in the flow chart. So there's three types of standard operating procedures: step by step, hierarchical step, and flow chart. We mentioned the importance of SOPs. The first one is a quality assurance. So you will follow up a very precise instruction. In case of soil, for example, from sampling to the filling of analytical result will be described by continuous series or steps of standard operating procedures. Also, it will provide a check of source of errors, traceability of the process. And of course, it will help very much in interchanging of data among laboratories within the country and also at regional or international level. And you know that NASOLAN now they are conducted a proficiency test for organic carbon, and I hope that the Lebanon country contributed or participated in this effort.
Yeah, Fanar will participate. We're waiting for the sample. Yes.
Oh, good news.
That's how we will know if the expired product we have are still efficient.
You must be supported by newer updated material, I think. In this case.
We hope so. No, we will use what we have now.
Lucrezia is here. Lucrezia is here. She can hear our conversation, and maybe she can support with chemicals for organic.
Yeah, after the assessment you made, it's good if you can support us with chemicals, with materials, instruments, with everything. We have no problem. We accept everything.
But be modest a little bit.
I think now the assessment report is finished, and we highlight, or actually we mentioned very precisely these needs for the phase 2. Of Lucrezia is very optimistic that the second phase of the project will receive financial support. So hopefully this project will come or will help to support the laboratories in the Near East, inshallah.
Inshallah.
It's now also advantage or benefit of using SOPs. It will increase employee training, because since it is instructions, it is a written instructions and documented in a very good way. So the new employee or even the employee itself, they can read it, they can follow it step by step, and this will help them for training by self-training, because the instructions, they are very clear. So the advantage of using is SOP, it will help in training of employee. Because it provides a very clear instruction. So the employees, there is no need to go to the other one to ask him, please help me and give me answers. And this is, I think that it is very clear now that most of the people now can learn by themselves very easily by using the help in program, computer program, or in with the instrument you have normally this manual for operation manual, so you can follow the steps, you can learn. So at least you can get easily to understand the new methodologies or to operate a new instrument. Of course, we mentioned this issue very heavily in this presentation, the improve of quality control. So the SOB, I talk or I mentioned this issue. Also the employee safety, and this is specifically in SOP. Normally, in the standard operating procedure, they provide a section in health and safety and quality assurance. So they provide a very good information for employee to save themselves by identifying very precisely the safety of the reagent and the safety or chemical hazard of the reagent used in. So it will provide you with a safety instructions. So this, of course, will provide or help you to save yourself or save the employee. In addition, it with the SOP, it will give a compliance to regulation. And this is normally not only in soil laboratories, but in general, SOP should be written and should be define who is the author, and when you are carrying analysis, you have to identify who is conducting the analysis and date and so on and so on. So at result level. So this will let you more compliance to regulation. For instance, for example, according to the protocol or good or protocol of working in your laboratories, you are not authorized to provide a recommendation, as far as I remember. So you will be compliant to regulation. Compliance to regulation, you cannot write a recommendation, yeah, as far as I remember. So this, but if someone, for instance, for example, in laboratory somewhere in Lebanon, he write a recommendation. So he is not authorized. If there is a problem in the farmer with the farmers, according to your recommendation, so you put yourself in charge of regulation. Even this farmer can say that this one give me the recommendation and it is not valid and it not make a loss, so he can ask him for compensation. So this is a sort of regulation. I try to do it in like this, but in other cases, especially in a medical field, if there is a very straightforward SOP for conducting an operation, if you are not follow this, then you come to be in charge with some medical errors, whatever it is, attended or unattended, but at least you are come to compliance with regulation. يعني الالتزام بالقوانين. فالوضوح في الصب بتخلي الناس يكونوا واضحين في مسألة الالتزام بالقوانين وبعد ذاك تحمل النتائج. Of course, الصب will prevent the loss of knowledge and experience through the documentation. Through the documentation of SOP, there will be a very precise ways for accumulation of knowledge and experience. In some places, يعني في some people they have experience but they don't leave this in a document way. So when they are leave the institution, there is no information to conduct or to do a certain process. So by loss of someone, you lost information. But by documentation, you keep everything there behind you. So when the another one will come then you will find the necessity or the accumulated knowledge and experience of the institution. normally call this memory of an institution. And actually at this point, really it jumped to my mind that there is a phrase by Will Sonica about the African. He says that when the old African pass, a library is lost because they don't depend on documentation, but actually they depend on verbal documentation or talking. So SOB tackle this issue and provide a very concise and very strong way of documenting all the knowledge and experience, so the people can and keep it in a momentum that can be used by everyone. As I said, SOPs are not only related to the soil, but there is many types, fundamental SOP, and this give you an instruction to how to make SOP of other categories, how to make it. And actually this part I will try to highlight in the second slide, and then at the end I come to the SOP for analytical methods. What will we were actually thinking of, or we are trying to provide during the training course? Is it SOP for analytical methods? Also the SOP methodic SOPs. It will describe a complete testing system or method of investigation. Also there is SOPs for safety precautions. Also the standard of SOPs for operating instruments, apparatus, other equipment. And normally the standard SOPs for operating instruments, they are provided with a manual of operation for an instrument. Of course, when you get elemental analyzer and when you get the atomic absorption machines, you had with them this manual for operation, for installing, and this all, it will give you a very precise instruction how to install the instrument, how to operate and make the analysis with it. SOP for analytical methods, as I said, it is our core work. During this training sessions, we will get a lot of SOPs for analytical methods. And this normally they describe how to make analysis, certain analysis, SOP for preparation of reagent, SOPs for receiving and registration of samples, and SOP for quality assurance, SOP for archiving out how to deal with complaint. I think also that SOP for receiving and registration of samples it is of high concern for the other project item with data management, because with the registration of samples, normally in many countries that the registration of samples is not accounted for due reference characteristic of samples. So the data is without any geographical dimension, and which makes a lot of problems for data management, especially in new database. Yes, Dr. Tilal, or what is the situation? I noticed that it is an issue because we asking for this in soil laboratory analysis, soil laboratory assessment. In many places, the people who are responsible of sample collection, they are not, many cases, they are not the laboratory itself. And some of them, they take care of due reference data and others not.
Yes, the procedures for soil sampling are not always the same, huh? Not follow the same. And of course, sometimes those who analyze the soil samples make the sampling, but it's not always the same people. Yes, you are right.
Mhm. Yeah. So if the region, if we talk about our region here, Near East and North Africa, if we come to SOP or harmonize SOP for receiving and registration of samples, this can be very helpful in production of some regional maps, some regional studies, because the data is there, but we have to share it. So maybe actually the objective of this project to bring a sort of harmonization in SOPs for analytical method for receiving and registration of samples, so that it can be easy to share information between countries, and at a certain level we can come to harmonization with other regions in the world, so the whole data can be integrated together to provide a sort of world soil maps and world soil information system. So this is just a abbreviation for previous one, that if you F for fundamental, A for apparatus, M for methodology, B for project for procedure, prod for protocol, org for organizational document, pairs for personal matters, RA for registration form, WS for worksheets. So now we come to, as I said, in this presentation, we try to highlight in general the step for standard standard operating procedures, not only for soil, but in general how it is created or formulated, and it is started with basically for interlinked or overlapped steps. First one, initiation of standard operating procedure. Then we preparation of SOP, approval of SOP, and finally to distribute SOPs and implementing of it. So basic four major steps: initiation, preparation, approval, and finally distribution and implementation. There is some general consideration when you have to start or thinking of
كلام عينك كلام عينك
please mute.
Sorry.
Is Marie? No, she has a connection.
يا انا وماري دي عندي لها شكر خاص، لان انا قاعد ازعجها في اوقات المساء للاسئله عن المعمل، فقدام الناس شكرا جزيلا لك ولصبرك يعني، بالاضافه طبعا للكل، لكن بس لانه ماري انا اخذت وقت كثير معاه لانها ما كانت في الاجتماعات، فبالتالي بشكل بيرسونال اخذت معها كونتاكت كثير. في general consideration يعني when you are starting to formulate or write SOP, first caliber persons have to be nominated to prepare a SOP. And nomination, normally the initiation, as we come to details, started with managers, lab managers, or the company managers, or the institution manager. But they have to nominate someone with high qualification or with appropriate qualification to start preparing of a SOP. Then we have to identify who will receive the draft and assess it. This is a very normal process that when the caliber person prepare or start to prepare a draft. So who will going to evaluate or assess or comment on the draft? The procedure of approval, how we can approve this SOP. In NASOLAN, in the next part of the presentation, they have a very certain procedure. We will going to highlight it. But in general, for example, in Lebanon, the two laboratories, they are belong to LARI. So the manager of the FANAR will think that we need to prepare a SOP. So he will initiate this. Maybe he is himself or himself will be a caliber person to start it. So to whom he will send the draft, maybe he can send to the high admin category in LARI. So this will be the procedure of approval of this SOP for example, for FANAR or for Tel Al Amara. How this SOP will be revised and withdrawn. Here you can think in that there is a need for panel of experts. So you can say Dr. Tilal is a very caliber person and he's have a very good experience in so we can be joined as a panel or a committee for revising of SOP. So Tilal, Rani, and so they will come make a helping committee for the process of revision and withdrawal of the SOP. This is finally after the SOP somehow is ready to be approved. So we have to say who will be approved, announce the date of implementation, and who will be targeted. In case of FANAR and Tel Al Amara laboratories, maybe the key person is the head of LARI, who will announce that this SOP is approved, and he will targeting the soil laboratories in Tel Al Amara, in FANAR, in Bakka. So it will be the approved SOP for soil Lebanese laboratories. So the process basically depends on willing and qualified person in the country or in the institution itself. In our example, it is LARI and it is affiliated laboratories. This is the initiation of SOP. I highlighted it during the talk, but now it is written in a very nice way. So the manager or the head of laboratory can nominate a staff member, or himself or she as a staff member can do the initiation. So the nominated person is responsible to offer a very standardable SOP for others. Yeah, this one should be should write a very precise and very informative draft that everyone can understand it very clearly. Not use don't use very complicated language, or and especially in general when we come to the SOP, it should be written in a language that everyone can understand it. If we are, for example, now we are talking, we can talk English and talk Arabic, or even we can talk, some of you can talk French. But as far as the mother tongue of all of the audience here is Arabic. So even it is better to be written in Arabic so that there is no misunderstanding of the wording. So, or it's written in a language that it's mastered by all. The author also, all the one who initiated the work, he will request a new registration number for the sub-administration. Normally in high institutions, there is always administrator is responsible of registration of sub. So here you will request a new registration number. So it will be identified as sub number 1, sub number 2, sub, and so on. So the process of initiation actually required some process. First, you have to verify, is there a SOP existed or not? Is there drafted one or not? So at this level or at this step, you have to make some verification in your institution, and in your case in laboratory, is there a SOP or not? If there, then of course you will going to thinking, is it update or not? Is it appropriate? It is suitable? It is working well or not? If you are satisfied with what you have, then there is no need to go to the step 2. But if you are not satisfied, so you will go into the level of proposing or proposal. You will write a proposed title for SOP and the author. And author normally this author with the intellectual property laws, it will give you a benefit, and also it will give you to be in charge of any consideration by others. So verification, then you come to the proposed or proposing of a title and author of the SOP. Then you will go into register, or the process of registration of the registration for the SOP. Whenever you are engaged in process of initiation of SOP, the high manager of your institution shall support you and give you an adequate time to prepare SOP. It should not be in hurry. Anyway, if they are agreed that there is a need for SOP initiation, the higher category managers and admin should provide you with an ample time to do this job in a proper way. Of course, participation of other qualified colleagues is very important. Consultation of the others is very important during the preparation of SOP. After the actually during the initiation and after the writing of the draft one, the SOP must be tested by the project leader or project manager to identify is it working well or not. So it's sort of validation of the proposed SOP. Also, revision of SOP writing. Is it written in a very precise and clear and informative syntax or words? And submission. After that, the SOP will be submitted after passing the test and revision to administrator for acceptance. Of course, the SOP to be dynamic, to be in a good way, it should be revised. Sometimes after it should be revised to follow the same procedure by initiation. Also, there is a need to nominate a responsible person for proper distribution of document, and also the filling of administration. And normally there will be original SOP and copied, signed copied or authorized copied from the SOP. So all this process should be handled or carried by a certain person. Frequency of periodic evaluation of a valid SOP also should be clearly stated in the SOP, and normally with standard operating procedure according to international standards, it should be revised every 2 years, so that there is a need for periodic evaluation of validity of SOP as a methodology. And finally, also issue of official original copies of SOP. When you find any SOP, it should be in the heading or footing for preparation of SOP. Should be certain information should be provided concerning the date of approval and or version number, a unique title, also abbreviation if desired, the number of SOP, page number and total number of pages. And this is very clear in now when we come to the, I will show to you an example of SOP by NASOLAN. All this information, they are very clearly stated: date of approval, title, number of SOP, page number, the heading or only the logo of original should be preferably be printed in another color than black. Heading or only the logo of the institutions that provide this SOP should also be to keep the intellectual rights. Here also detailed list of necessary equipment, reagent. And as I said that in quality control, normally SOP provided reagent, including a grade and so on. So here, this is what we mentioned during this presentation, that SOP can help very well in process of quality assurance. So you have in any SOP detailed list of necessary equipment and reagent. A clear imperative description in a language mastered by the users. Also, يعني أوامر واضحة غير قابلة للغموض، unambiguous، ما فيها أي غموض في المسائل بتاعت التوضيح بتاعت العمليات أو الستبس. Criteria for the control of described system during the operation، وبرضه توضيح لبعض الأشياء اللي ممكن تعمل كنترول بها أثناء العملية. A list of content, a list of reference. This is well-documented SOP will give you all the information needed to conduct or to do a certain process or certain analytical or certain activity. Also will provide you a summary of the content with purpose and field of application. For instance, most of the SOP in the soil, the field of application is agricultural soil analysis. So you have to write some summary about the content and with the purpose and field of what's the purpose. For instance, tomorrow we will get standard operation procedures for pH and EC. So the purpose for EC, for pH is to determine the pH in the soil, and the field of application is agricultural soil. Any related SOP of operation used in present. Sometimes the SOP itself, it has some linkage with others SOP. So you have to identify very precisely to what other SOP it is linked. Possible safety instructions, and this is very important. Actually, I think in our laboratories, from my experience, most of us, we know well how to handle to process of the analysis, how to analysis, for example, to determine pH or to determine EC or total nitrogen, or but what we don't have in a documented way the safety instruction. Is this chemical used in this analysis, for instance, for organic matter or organic carbon? Is these chemicals are safe or not? For example, potassium dichromate is a very common in organic carbon determination, but we don't handle in the instructions that it is a source of chrome, and it is somehow it has some radioactive impact also. So this one possible safety instructions, it is not common as far as from my assessment. So SOP will provide the possibility to keep our worker, our manager in the laboratory in a safe way, because it gives you some instructions related to the use of chemical in the certain, for example, in certain laboratory analysis. Name and signature of author, including date of signing, and as I said, this is the intellectual property right, and also somehow it will put some responsibility of this on this person. Also name and signature of person or institution, not always person. For example, in NASOLAN, it is an institution that has the authority to introduce and to ask other people to implement or to adopt certain SOPs that prepared by NASOLAN. This is an abstract of what we said, so no need to go again. Now I will come to Global Soil Laboratory Network. It is experience in provision of SOPs for the partner laboratories. And actually Global Soil Laboratory Network is supervise all this work now concerning training and soil laboratory assessment and data management. So Global Soil Laboratory Network was established in 2017 with an aim to build and strengthen the capacity of laboratories in soil analysis and to respond to the need for harmonization soil and analytical data. Of course, harmonization of methods, units, data, and information is very important to provide reliable and comparable information between countries and projects, allow the generation of new harmonized soil data sets, and support evidence-based decision making for sustainable development management. The work of NASOLAN supports the implementation of sustainable development goals, the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, and mandate of FAO on food security and nutrition. Of course, for more information, you can visit the website. And Global Soil Laboratory Network in general aim to bring soil laboratories together to network in the soil laboratories. And Lebanon now, the registered one is a FANAR, but from this assessment, now I think Tel Al Amara will be, of course, another registered one. But of course, the registration of other laboratories is highly welcome. And
yes, we sent the registration form to Lucretia last week for all the soil laboratories of Lari.
That is very good. Yeah, that is very good. And actually, also during the last week, also. Locariza and I, as request for many other countries, we think that the laboratories, soil laboratories in universities can be easily come into the registration and become a beneficiary after registration. So we send for you also a questionnaire or a form. It is very easy. Now it is an online form, so that to send it to universities that has soil laboratories, so that we can.
Dr. Talal sent the hyperlink to Lebanese universities also, to private universities.
To private universities,
yeah.
Yes. To the Catholic and the Beirut Arab University.
That is good. That is
I don't know if they replied or
I think there's some. Yes, there's someone from universities of Beirut. I think he responded.
Okay.
But still, we are welcoming. We are welcoming. We are welcoming response from all the universities in Lebanon, governmental and private ones, so that we will handle this to write maybe as annex for our original assessment for the situation in universities laboratories, so that it can provide opportunities for the universities laboratories, soil universities laboratories, to have some engage in NASOLAN activities, and also if possible that to get some support at the second phase.
Good. Good. Thank you.
Welcome. So NASOLAN initiated the process of SOP, production for the following reasons. Number one, which is very important, that provision of free harmonized SOP. Because most of the SOPs issued by authoritative bodies are not available for free and sometimes can be very expensive. And you know now that the copyright issues is really it is still need some some modification or some care, because most of SOP sometimes they are not free for all, and I practice this many times so that the provision of harmonized free SOP is credit for the laboratories, especially for developing low-income countries. The second reason behind the initiation of SOP by NASOLAN is enabling to producing of reliable data that can be merged at the international level, and seek that now NASOLAN work very well in this issue. And as I mentioned, Dr. Talala and his colleague from other regional countries, in addition to the international one, they working to bring the or to emerge the data from different countries to be at international level. And this, of course, need that the data produced by similar or by the same methodology. Otherwise, the data will be not comparable or not interchangeable process of operation. NASOLAN, pay your attention. Yes, this SOP are freely available, but it doesn't mean with low quality material. Actually, I attended one or two meetings regarding SOP, and they work very hard to make it in a good way. So there is a roster of soil experts, and all of them, they are working together. And even they are, this SOP, they are produced by collaborative effort from different laboratories in different countries. So to come together in very concrete, accountable SOP. NASOLAN producing harmonized SOP. All of them, they are compiled in the NASOLAN's best practice manual to assist in overcoming obstacles and promote the harmonization of global soil laboratory data. The manual is the result of a joint effort between Global Soil Partnership, FAO, and laboratories registered in NASOLAN. Routine procedures shared by laboratories with NASOLAN are harmonized and published online for free. I think from the training program, you can notice that they SOP for certain soil analysis parameters, while others still not. But when we check the site, they said that most of them, they will come very soon, maybe after our training. Most of parameters, soil parameter, will be prepared in a very harmonized SOP by NASOLAN. For the meantime of our training, when there is a SOP by NASOLAN, we will going to take training based on it. Otherwise, I will try to provide a methodology based on the international recognized methodologies. As far as you know, that's the There is the American one by United States Department of Agriculture, is a very famous one. Also, we can look for others from ICARDA. But anyway, we will rely very much or heavily on harmonized standard operating procedures by Glossolan. Decision on harmonization of SOP, as I take it as an example, that they have a very predefined way of approval and of SOP. So the harmonization of SOP is decided upon the number of countries and laboratories using a specific methods. So this is the way how they start to initiate a SOP. So it depends on willing or requesting of countries and laboratories by using for a specific methods. And normally this is done by a meeting in a panel. And so Larry, I think you contributed in one of these, as far as I remember. Huh? Falari.
Yes.
You participate in this issue. In the last meeting, I was guested.
Yes.
So it is the second meeting. Glossolan agreed on 10 years work plan on SOP to harmonize. So that is currently used as a baseline for decision making. In the last meeting, I remember that they will take care of harmonization of some physical and chemical parameters. With physical, I remember because I propose it, seeing the particle density and bulk density, and also the issue of microbial analysis. Every year, registered laboratory in Glossolan discuss the SOP to harmonize at the regional soil laboratory network meeting. For the regional soil laboratory networking meeting, they decided upon what SOP they want to harmonize. Ultimately, regional positions like negotiation are discussed at the Glossolan meeting every year in the October, November, where the final decision on SOP to be harmonized is made. Once the Glossolan members come to agree to harmonize a certain SOP, regional leaders will be identified. For instance, for example, most of the region in the Near East, they have problems with aridity associated problem, salinity. So they will be very easily to come a leader in the process of harmonization of issues related to salinity, EC, pH, even with determination of calcium, magnesium. These issues with salinity, it is an issue of high concern in the Near East and National Africa region. Regional leader should be expert on specific methods that are asked to. They have to prepare the matrix for collecting information on the procedure used by each laboratories. Some of them, for example, use the United States Department of Agriculture, others use ICARDA, but so this is a matrix how to collect information, and then you can harmonize this information, receive at the regional level first and at the global level later. Then the SOP will be drafted by template for reporting Glossolan SOPs. Per each SOP, a global leader is also identified. This is expert as well that take over responsibility over the harmonization of SOP. based on the decision made at the fourth GLOSOLAN meeting, the review and endorsement of GLOSOLAN SOP is done by a review panel. Then the global working group leader is automatically a member of the review panel with the task to answer the question of the review panel, to reboot and implement the changes suggested by the review panel. So this is the process of approval. It is very clear that it is a very consultative and very participative approach. No one takes the decision alone, but there is always members from the country or from the region, and all of them, they are very qualified to take care of the issue related to the SOP, so that when they come to approval, it will be very comprehensive and very up-to-date SOP. The process of SOP initiation and preparation is facilitated by GLOSOLAN coordinator that who is going to coordinate the establishment of working group, a review panel, ensure that the work of each working group proceeds smoothly, ensure that the deadlines are respected. And actually, it is a very hard task that I notice. So they have to work a lot to make this process in a very facilitated and very smooth way. I think this is because the time is so I have to go very fast. So GLOSOLAN is harmonized a large number of methods to analyze soil parameter. Is therefore important to support laboratories in making sound decision in which method to use and to promote the transition to more sustainable methods. In order to do that, the following information are provided by each SOP. Risk to human health, environmental risk, level of technology required to perform the analysis, average duration of the test. Level of risk, normally there is a low, medium, high, and maximum risk associated by each methodology. So you have to identify it. Also the level of technology required. Some methodologies, it is very low, some medium. No specific or sophisticated equipment are used, but just quite one. In some analysis, others you need a very specific and very complicated and sophisticated one. So you to some extent we have to take care of technology constraints. So you cannot harmonize a SOP that cannot be applied in a certain countries because of any condition there. They cannot, for example, provide. Not all countries can able to have a high-tech equipment and instrument. Regarding contribution to preparation by GLOSOLAN, or laboratories registered in GLOSOLAN have the opportunity to contribute to preparation of GLOSOLAN SOPs. If you are not a member, you can go to the hyperlink that how can I register my laboratory in GLOSOLAN, and then you will be a member and you will have the opportunity to contribute in the process of preparation and of course the process of using. The use of GLOSOLAN SOP is encouraged but not compulsory. Countries that cannot implement GLOSLAN SOP are kindly invited to develop transfer function to use when submitting data to UN or exchange information with other countries. Now we come to the current situation analysis in Lebanon. So these questions are raised from my side to enriching the discussion between us. Thank you. And of course, there is a reference there in the last page. Thank you. The floor is yours. Hi.
I can comment that actually we don't have this standard operational procedure as such, but we have like the methods of analysis, which are harmonized by Larry and followed by all soil laboratories belonging to Larry. Actually, the same methodologies, the same methods of analysis, as you mentioned, Dr. Gafalla, are used also by other are used also by other local universities and soil laboratories located in local universities, except perhaps the American University of Beirut, which sometimes or often use a slightly different methodology for the texture, Buyukos method, whereas other laboratories used to use the Pipette-Robinson method. Actually, nowadays, I think all soil laboratories follow the Buyukos method because of the ease and time consumption. So, as I understand, SOP must encompass the whole process from the soil sampling procedure, soil preparation, samples preparation, until soil storage and soil analysis procedure, and harmonization of analytical data and reporting data, as well as interpretation of results. We need this SOP. I am sure we don't have such procedure in Lebanon, which can be referred to, updated, followed by different laboratories. Maybe I am not very precise. Maybe Valerie and Marie can correct me and can maybe modify or add any moments I could forget here in my speech.
Yes, I want to add something. It's not that we don't have a SOP in Lebanon. It's just like, for example, the pH measurement and the EC. We do the same method as the SOP of GLOSLAN, and for the organic carbon also, it's the same. I checked and made a comparison. We do the same as the one in the SOP of the GLOSLAN. And for the phosphorus, for example, we use the Olsen method also. That for these parameters.
Yes, great, great. This is a harmonization of analytic analysis of methodologies, but SOAP is a little bit larger, you know. It must include also the soil sampling methods, the soil sampling, soil preparation.
The soil sampling, it's because it's not us who bring the sample, it's the farmers, the individuals who bring for us the sample. This we cannot control how they are bringing the sample for us, because it's not the lab who goes, the staff of LARI who goes to bring the soil sampling. For the preparation, I guess we all use the same method for the preparation. We dry the sample, air temperature, then we sieve it on 2 millimeter, and then we proceed with the analysis. And for the storage in the refrigerator or in a cold room, the one who has one. I don't know if anyone wants to add something from the other LARI laboratory.
Bonjour.
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 هاي كيف؟ سوري يعني انا على السمع كل الوقت، بس المشكل هي الكونكشن، ما في كان افتح فيديو. في عنا شغله انه حاليا نحن اذا كل واحد عنده ماشين عم يشتغل عليها مش قادر بقى يغيرها، يعني عم نحافظ على الموجود. زمان كنا جربنا انه كلنا نعمل نفس الميثود بنفس المعدات بالمختلف.
Sorry, Dr. Rania, we have Filippo that does understand Arabic.
Okay, I will speak.
It's okay. You can resume after me.
Okay. The issue that nowadays we cannot move better than before, because we cannot all optimize our methods with the problem of the machinery that are available or the equipment that we already have. We can, in some places we cannot manage another methods. We have to assume what we have and use our equipment. That's why optimizing everywhere the same wasn't so easy even 3 years before. Nowadays it's become more difficult, especially with what Valerie mentioned and Marie mentioned. We are really running out of materials and products and chemical products. So I borrow some filter papers from Valerie a month ago. It's very simple to talk about our problems, but really how to solve them is not easy as well.
Thanks for sharing this in English also. Well, regarding the procedure. Sorry?
It's okay. It's okay.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Thanks. I mean, like
now we are in a shortage of maintenance for our machinery or our equipment. A week ago I was fixing my flame photometer just to continue to proceed and to be able to do our sodium potassium analysis. And we are doing the maintenance by ourselves also.
Yes, we know that in the region, in your country, maintenance and the retrieval of consumables is a big issue. And I think this kind of meeting where we share the open discussion and the problems and needs helps us to work on that. So of course this meeting is to build the capacity, to start to discuss and to try to work together to solve these issues. And we will try to take this into account. Of course, we are working also on that. We will try to support you on that. Regarding the challenges in change methodologies, yes, indeed, but Glossland is trying to provide SOPs, so standard operating procedures for different methodologies to measure the same parameters. This would allow laboratories to adopt global harmonized procedures, also if they use different methodologies. So for instance, for carbon, we have the one on Wechsler-Black, the one on Turing method. We will do one for loss of ignition, so dry combustion. There is Dumas. So there are different methodologies, and we are trying to do that. So labs can do that, because basically you are not the only one with these issues. We had many labs in your region, but also in other regions in Asia, in Africa, Latin America, in Eurasia, with dealing with the changing the methodologies, because they cannot change the equipment easily. So starting from this assumption, we are trying to provide procedures for different instrumentation, for different methodologies to target the same parameters.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
That's
to you.
good.
Like, thanks for sharing your inputs. And I ask everyone to share this kind of request, because this will help us to adapt the global, regional, and national work plan to better help you to solve these issues.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Filippo, for your comment. Actually, I want to respond to Fallari. That what you mentioned is not a standard operating procedure. It is actually, as Dr. Tilal said, it is an analytical procedure that international recognized analytical procedures, but still it is not a concrete form of SOP. So actually, I think there is no registered SOP, but actually harmonized one. And this will be a challenge for the Lebanese laboratories to try to harmonize. It is a registered SOP based on NASOLAN. Maybe you can request, of course, for the help, or you can come apart in contribution with NASOLAN to harmonize the SOP, because with the SOP, not only how to carry out the process of analysis. Actually, it should contain this part related to health and safety, quality assurance, and there are many information that to make it in a concrete form. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
العمارة.
Hello.
No problem. Yeah.
No,
So what
I can speak now. Thank you, Doctor.
Why? Why?
Hello.
We hear you. We hear you.
We hear you.
Go ahead, Marie. We hear you.
You can speak in any language you want, Arabic language.
She is online. We hear you, Marie.
So I encourage you to interact so that we can
Strange. Marie is online. Why this interference happens?
No, she's not online.
Ah,
Mhm.
Her connection is off, I guess.
okay.
She's not on Zoom.
Can you speak to her by WhatsApp? Maybe
Yes,
she has
yes, I'm
something
trying. I'm trying
comment.
to connect with her.
Thank you very much, Valerie.
So,
Because, if you write accept only the University, American University of Beirut, not USA.
sorry.
No problem.
American University of Beirut.
Of Beirut, yeah, thank you.
They have their own SOPs.
Maybe they have, we are not sure. They are not present with us, but I used to work at the Faculty of FAFS, Agricultural and Food Sciences, as you know, invited or courtesy research associate sent by CNRS in 1986-87. I know that they had a SOP, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, how to who is responsible for the soil laboratory, who is responsible for soil sampling, for soil preparation, for soil analysis, and there was a distribution, you know, specialization between people, who is doing what and who is reporting. But I don't know now. We should maybe contact Dr. Isam Bashur, and I hope in the future you can maybe use your status and make this connection with the registered laboratories. But I can put this on personal basis because I know him very well.
It's better if you have a connection.
Okay,
with him.
no problem. I will.
Yeah.
No problem.
I tried to contact him years before on ResearchGate for some articles, but I couldn't reach him. So it's better if we can have
no problem. I will call him and I will report. I will report to you.
Okay.
And you can inform other colleagues. Okay.
Yes. Marie has a bad connection. Yes, she said that she agreed with what Rania said, and that we are trying to harmonize the methods we are using, but it's just the instruments differ from one laboratory to another at LARI.
Okay.
Yes, for example, at Fanar and Tal Amara, we analyzed the calcium and magnesium by the atomic absorption detection. In other laboratories, soil laboratories of LARI, they don't have the atomic absorption, so they use the traditional method, the titrimetry method.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, at Kfar Shakhna they use the atomic absorption. So we are 3 labs who use the atomic absorption for the calcium and magnesium. But you know now,
yeah, at the Lebanese University, yeah, they use titrimetry method.
Yes. Yeah, but I guess
I know because I
not-
teach soil science over there.
okay.
Uh,
Okay.
You have better instrumentation than the Lebanese university.
Yes, you mentioned a very important issue that harmonization need to take care of issues of available technology, level of technology to be used in SOAP. So I think for developing countries, especially with low income, they have to harmonize a SOAP that is fit for them, for their conditions, so that they can make the analysis in a comparative way with others laboratories, international
Yes,
or regional. Yeah,
that's right.
yeah, yeah. We finish. I think most of you. But by the way, you can speak in Arabic. According to the modules of this training, it is hybrid. You can use Arabic and language. So I know that normally even you can know the other language, but when you are tired or when you are not concentrated, it is better to speak in your
Own
mother
language.
language.
Yes.
So don't worry. If there is a need for translation for Filippo, we can do it. No response. So can we finish today training and
Yes, we can, if you
assalamu
want.
alaikum. Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Inshallah.
See you
Concerning
tomorrow. Yeah.
yeah, concerning tomorrow, you have to prepare your laboratories to conduct the practical part after the instruction. Yeah.
Yes.
And as we agree, it will be very good if you provide video for the process so that we can use this one as training material for the other laboratory in the region. Yeah, whenever
Yeah.
it is possible.
Yeah, but from my
Yeah.
side, it's difficult from my side because I'm alone at the lab, and no one can enter because I have COVID now. So I cannot.
So what
videotape.
about Tel Al Amara? Tel Al Amara, can you take this?
I will try tomorrow if there's an available person with me. Yes.
So just make a video.
I will try to. It's not certain.
Just one question, Dr. Dafalla. For
Yes.
the electrical conductivity, you will analyze the one of the saturated soil past extract?
No, according to your
No.
But if you like, you can change it. It is
No.
not difficult anyway.
No, because we don't have me at Fanar. I don't have the suction system. I don't have the Bushner. No. No, because
Okay.
I read on the training program table that it's the SOP of the saturated soil past extract.
Yeah,
And there's
actually,
another one. There's two.
No, I plan to according to the of the finding from the assessment that you use 1 to 5. 1 to 5. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Maria,
a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.